What's going on, y'all? As you can probably tell, I'm fucking exhausted. My job, I've been bartending some late nights. We got Bottle Rock going on in Napa. For those of you who don't know, it's a really big festival, especially out here. Um, so, I just woke up a little bit ago. Got my coffee right here. But I've been meaning to do this video, and I'm not gonna lie, part of me has been subconsciously avoiding this video, I feel like, because um, I didn't get the result that I wanted for my Blacklist review of the Zadok script, right? And here's the thing. So before I go any further, I scored a 5 out of 10, which is very, with how the Blacklist scores things, 5 out of 10 really is the middle of the pack. It's almost impossible to get like a 9. So just like an A, I would see like an 8 is like an A. I would say a 5 is like a C, honestly. So basically, they gave me a C, and I got this in front of me right here. So I'm gonna read. So before I go into the review, I think for me, it was a big kind of blow to my ego a little bit, because Zadok's my baby, right? I've written other scripts. I'm pushing other scripts right now, and I think I have the way I write. There are going to be some scripts that people like more than the others, right? It's not, I don't write. I don't know how to explain this. I don't write, just a lot of broad shit, right? It's some of my stuff is very niche, so I can understand, why I scored a 5 out of 10. And obviously there are some things that I actually do that I gained from this review that I am going to be working on in my next draft, and I'm going to continue to be working on this project, pushing it forward, and I want to see it on TV one day. I want to see it on HBO or Netflix or one of these big networks one day. So, for those of you who don't know, I'll give you the log line to Zadok. So basically, 23-year-old Zadok James moves back to his hometown of Las Vegas to care for his cancer-ridden mother. In doing so, he gravitates towards the game of poker, his last connection to his late older brother, but unbeknownst to him, the game that tore his parents' marriage apart. For the story in general, beyond just poker, it's about finding your true self. And Zadok, his entire life, he has kind of done what his mom has told him to do, right? And I feel like we've all been there, It's like we want to make our parents happy. We want to make the people around us happy. We want to meet their expectations. And Julia, who's Zadok's, cancer-ridden mother, keeps Zadok on the straight and narrow. And especially after the passing of his brother, he's done everything he's told, and he's still not happy until he gets back to the poker table, right? So that's kind of, there's a lot more to it. Maybe I'll discuss the Zadok series more in depth in a future video. But let's dive into this review. So 5 out of 10. The premise 4 out of 10, which again, I heavily disagree with that, and part of me feels like this review or these reviews, it's just like some of them can feel lazy, and you're gonna see what I mean. Plot is 5 out of 10. I can kind of agree with that. Plot being 5 out of 10. At least for the pilot episode, there's certain things where it's like I could improve on, and I know that for sure. Character 4 out of 10. I strongly disagree with this one. Although, like with the Zadok character, I think character. I've always prided myself in character work, and I think the Zadok character is definitely higher than 4 out of 10. I think what they mean by this, and they actually do describe this, is like the cast of characters, and I do feel like I could use some work, in this script at least, I could use some work fleshing out the rest of the characters a bit more in the pilot, but I feel like they are fleshed out throughout the series. So maybe more of a focus on Julia, the mother, in the pilot. So let's see, the dialogue is 6 out of 10. I think the dialogue's really good. I'm not gonna lie. I've run it by some of my writer friends, and my writer friends have actually told me they love my dialogue style. And maybe they're blowing smoke up my ass. I don't know. But I scored 6 out of 10 dialogue, so they gave me a good score on that. All things considered, setting 6 out of 10. Okay, so let's see what their log line is. So they write their own log line of what they think the series is, and I'm going to see how accurate it is. So, after 23-year-old Zadok, taking care of his ailing mother in Las Vegas, loses his real estate job, he gets back into playing poker, a game that connects him to his late older brother. That's pretty accurate. That's a pretty accurate log line. I thought that was pretty thoughtful. Some of these log lines that the reviewers will give sometimes are not up to snuff, like they're just totally like factually incorrect. So that was a good one. So let's read the strengths. Okay. The script offers effective world building throughout, some well-crafted episodic plotting, and some affecting emotional work at the core of the story. Set in Las Vegas, the pilot does a good job establishing its backdrop with authenticity and detail, in particular the world of poker. Both the game itself and the types of players, tournaments, and rooms that occupy its larger spaces feels very realistic and well drawn, which is a key highlight when it is such a big part of the story. In addition, the narrative world building here is off to a promising start, as the episode clearly lays out Zadok's current life and struggles as well as the past that's haunting him. Relatedly, another strength here is the episodic plotting. The way Zadok's path takes him back to poker is nicely realized, with Brad's visit, Julia's prognosis, and his own firing all leading him organically to the game. Plus, the poker scenes themselves feel lively and propulsive, especially his defeat of Chad towards the end. A cathartic, satisfying moment, nicely tingled with melancholy. I love that he caught this because at the end, the beginning of the series, I'll finish this. Smartly, the script contains a quiet undertow of poignancy that paints everything with a thoughtful, sensitive brush. Zadok has things to work through, an interesting arc for him. I really like that he caught that, after he defeats Chad. The dealer puts out the inconsequential Queen of Clubs River, and it's inconsequential to the game, but it's consequential to Zadok, in remembering his brother. One of the last conversation they have is, it's shown in the prologue of the pilot. It's Chris, talking about the hand that he got into the World Series of Poker main event, and the river was the Queen of Clubs, and it gave him the royal flush, and his opponent quads, and they get all the money's in, and Chris wins a ticket, and he's talking about how he can't believe it, and and it's just like this core moment for Zadok, and when he's seeing that Queen of Clubs come out on the river, and everyone's attention is just, on the pot and what's happening. And all Zadok can focus on is that Queen of Clubs. And he can't even focus on this big pot that he just won. The dealer swoops up the Queen of Clubs and the rest of the cards, puts the deck of cards back in the shuffler, gets a new, deck of cards and starts dealing again. It's very, in my opinion, it's very symbolic, in the sense of like, life goes on. Life goes on, and the Queen of Clubs, getting swooped up is, symbolic of his brother's passing, and everyone's non-reaction of it is basically symbolic of, nobody really knowing Zadok's pain, or maybe nobody even really caring about Zadok's pain. So, going on a bit of a, deep dive, I guess, or tangent, but let's get into the weaknesses here. Okay, so much of the episode's plotting works well, the script also does feel repetitive and redundant at times. I agree with this, especially I'm really happy that I got this review on the weaknesses part, because this is something I can definitely work on, okay? Particularly in showing the same actions and behavior over and over. For example, outside of the doctor's visits and her interactions with Zadok, Julia's scenes are very one note, with her always looking significantly at her ring, or others around the house. Similarly, Zadok also tends to look at key items a lot, like the photograph of Chris or the WSOP ticket. These moments are effective at first, but repeating them feels like overkill. Another concern here lies in the show's future, which feels murky. This is the part I heavily disagree with, and I think it's because I I know, and I've plotted out other episodes and basically the entire series, and this guy, or gal, excuse me, whoever,